my friends. It's always very special. It's always an honor when you are in the presence of royalty. And like I said at the top of the show, yes, primarily we here and throughout my career are covering MMA. You know this, but we like to dabble in the world of boxing like we will be doing this weekend as well. That being said, I have no problem showing some level of fandom and bias when I introduce our first guest of the day. In my opinion, she is the greatest female boxer of all time. She is the best boxer in the world right now. She is the pound for pound queen when it comes to boxing. And do not listen to anyone else who says otherwise. She returns to action this Saturday, live on DAZN at Wembley Arena. Scene of her very first pro fight. Another title defense, surely, for the patron saint of the Emerald Isle, for the queen of boxing, as I said, for the Bray Bomber herself, for the one who headlined and sold out Madison Square Garden back on April 30th. This is her first fight back. She is the one and only, the inimitable, the incomparable Katie Taylor. How are you, Katie?
Thank you so much, Ariel. Yeah, great. Thanks. Thanks so much for the lovely introduction there.
Anything for you, Katie. You are the best, and it's such an honor and a privilege. Honestly, it is very, very exciting. Anytime you talk to us, you come on the show. I know you're not a huge fan of the media, so we appreciate it very much. And I know you're getting ready for the fight, so thank you so much for the time.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, could I ask, Katie? I've been listening and reading some of the media that you've been doing in preparation for this fight, October 29th, back at Wembley, and it seems like, 95% of the conversations are about the Serrano fight, are about April 30th and whatnot. Does that annoy you? Very little is about Karen. Does it annoy you that the majority is about a fight that you had and aren't going to be competing in this Saturday?
I just tried my best just to be polite about, I suppose, and just answer the questions. But my mind is obviously very much focused on Saturday night, and I have no problem speaking about what happened last time. But my mind is completely just set on staying focused for what's ahead. I was obviously a phenomenal night the last time, but I think there are going to be bigger nights ahead, and. But first and foremost, I had to get past my opponent on Saturday night.
I was also wondering why that might be. And then it occurred to me, you didn't really do much media after the fight. You disappeared. Lord knows I tried to talk to you, and you just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth.
I didn't get the memo, Ariel. So.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I won't mention who I asked to have you on, but you didn't really take a victory lap tour. Was there a reason for that? Did you feel like there was just so much press and attention leading up to the fight that you just needed a break from it all afterwards?
I don't know, to be honest. I just do what I normally do and just go back into normal life after the fight. And I was back in the gym a few days after that fight, just preparing for these kind of nights again. I'm not a big media person, like you said, but there was just an awful lot of media before that fight. It was a hectic few weeks, a hectic few months, really, in preparation for such a big mega fight. And it was nice just to sit back and enjoy that victory with the people who are most important to me, I guess, my family, my friends, and that's basically it.
Could I ask, how many times have you watched the fight?
Just the one time.
Just once? Really? You haven't?
Yeah, just.
Really? And was that in the immediate aftermath or was that recently?
That was, say, maybe a week or so after the fight. Once is always enough, though, isn't it?
Wow, that is amazing to me. I thought maybe you'd want to revel in it, watch it a few times.
Yeah.
When you watched it on television, what did you feel? Like, it made a lot of people feel a lot of different emotions. It's one of the greatest fights that I've ever seen live. It was truly a privilege to be in attendance. But when you're watching yourself, especially in those final moments, digging down deep, what do you feel? What do you think about?
Honestly, when I'm watching the fight, it was just a phenomenal fight, really. A great fight. The atmosphere alone was just so special between both the Irish fans and Puerto Rican fans. And just even when I was fighting during the night, there's times that we couldn't even hear the bell ringing. That's how loud the actual stadium was. Just an iconic night in the sport. And we were obviously saying beforehand, Madison Square Garden, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, but it's amazing that myself and Amanda Serrano are in that conversation now as well. And never in a million years did I think, say 10 years ago, I'd be in this position, headline at Madison Square Garden. How far the sport's actually grown over the last few years, and we put on just an incredible show from both of us, really, and yeah, just an amazing night for the sport.
When you watched it on television, were you convinced that you won?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think you can have any complaints with the decision, really. um, so yeah,
I agree with that. I think Jake and his
yeah,
team said otherwise, but I vehemently disagree with them on that one. I
yeah.
remember getting to see you briefly as you were walking to the press conference, and you were obviously banged up. Had you ever felt that way in the aftermath of a fight? I mean, you guys went to a place where rarely fighters go. Your body, everything. How did it feel in the days after the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to actually bruise very easy, to be honest. I think after a lot of my fights, I am quite banged up, but I heal very quickly. And after a few days, I was actually back to normal again. Um, but yeah, it was obviously a trenches sort of fight, and that's the sort of fight I was actually prepared for. In those big mega fights, you have to dig down deep. You have to show a lot of heart and grit, and you have to be willing to go through the trenches, like we both showed. And I'm just delighted to come out as the undefeated fighter again, and in a well deserved win.
Do you think that fight changed you as a fighter, as a person?
I wouldn't say it changes me as a person. Or as a fighter. I think I am. It's always great to go through those tough battles, and it's always great to test yourself against the very very best. And that's the mentality I've always had. I wanted to test myself against the biggest challenges out there, and when you do go through big fights like that, it does give you a sense of confidence as well going into the next fights. Um, I don't think I've ever chose an easy path. I've always been a fighter who has taken risks in my career, and I've picked the biggest opponents, and fought the biggest fights out there, and I take pride in that.
Was she better than you thought she would be?
I wouldn't say so. No. I mean, I think before the fight, people had me as the underdog before that fight, which is crazy.
Yes.
So I think everybody was underestimating me going into that fight. Um, Anyone who ever has me as an underdog doesn't really know me that well. I was definitely excited about stepping into the ring and coming out victorious, which I actually did.
You posted a photo. There's a great photo of you in the locker room, and you're sitting next to your mother. I think you posted it in the aftermath. Do you remember what you guys were talking about in that moment? And even if you don't, why is that picture so special to you?
I mean, I think it's always good to honor the people who've been there for you from the very very start, and your family are always those people, aren't you? Between the ups and downs of boxing, um, the very very low points, they're the people who are lifting you back up. And my mother is definitely that person. She's always been there. She's never ever missed a fight. She's my biggest supporter, biggest encourager, and it's I think it's always obviously very nice to honor those people. I can't actually remember what we were actually talking about, but yeah, I love the fact that I have such a supportive family, and I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am today without that support.
By the way, when you were a very young girl and you were, dressing up as a boy in that whole story, was she supportive of you entering the world of boxing, training in boxing, or like many other mothers, maybe was a little bit hesitant about it all?
No, I think she was, like I said, one of my biggest supporters right from the start. She's seen that this is something that I wanted to do. She's seen that I had a passion for the sport, and she really thought I was gifted in the sport as well. So she actually was someone who encouraged me towards this. And there's obviously times during my teenage years where I was thinking to myself, "Gosh, what am I doing this for? I'm training all year round, but not getting the fights." And there's times when I was getting obviously discouraged, but she was the one that really brought out the greatness in me as well. And I think you need people like that around you, people who bring out the greatness in you. And I'm just so grateful for that support. Really.
So now here's the big thing. In the aftermath of that fight, we all said like this has to be, that they have to run it back. There has to be a second fight. Do it right away. Don't waste time. All that. It's got to be back in Ireland,
Mm.
Croke Park for you. You get your homecoming. Why isn't this fight happening next for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was obviously ready and willing to jump straight back in and immediate rematch. And we actually had Croke Park sealed off for one of the dates in September. But
Oh,
um, I think Serrano and our team just wanted a couple of more fights maybe under the belt before jumping back into a rematch. But we were obviously ready and willing to jump straight back in.
so you had the date blocked off. This would have been your big homecoming.
Yeah, we were in talks with Croke Park that the date was actually sealed off, and just the thoughts of having my homecoming fight, in front of 80,000 people. I think that's the only thing that could actually top what happened in Madison Square Garden. I even did, the thoughts is spine tingling to me.
So here's the thing. I feel like you versus Karen, you versus anyone, you versus me sells out Croke Park. Why isn't your next fight there? Why does it have to be Serrano?
That's exactly my question as well. So that's the question that I'm saying to obviously the people around me as well, my promoter and stuff. But they obviously want this to be a huge mega fight, and another iconic night. And but I agree. I think the fight could be a sellout regardless of who I'm actually fighting.
We need to talk to Eddie about this because I feel like
Yeah,
we're wasting time.
please do,
What is
please
going
do.
on here? I don't understand it.
Yeah.
How have you not had this fight in Ireland? I feel like you versus a total no-namer sells out that place, especially coming off that fight. What are they doing? You've outgrown Wembley. You've outgrown Echo Arena. You've outgrown all these places. What are they doing? Do I need to take over here? What's happening?
Yeah, I think you do need to have a serious conversation with whoever's involved.
That is crazy. Was it deflating for you? You're that close to having that big stadium fight in your home country and it gets taken away. How did you react when it became a reality that it wasn't happening?
I suppose I just kind of reset and just focus on what's ahead. Really, I was obviously very very disappointed. I was back in training, like I said, a few days after the fight in preparation for hopefully a Crow Park type of fight in an immediate rematch. And um, so I was quite disappointed, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to pick myself back up and get back to the gym again and focus on who I am actually fighting on Saturday night.
Did you see her last fight just a few weeks ago in England?
I didn't actually see it now, but I obviously heard that it was a convincing win and a convincing performance.
Do you just not watch? Like, are you just not a fan of watching? I know some fighters don't like to watch when they're not competing or don't have teammates or something like that. Is that your style as well?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll watch a few of her fights if their immediate rematch happens, or the rematch does happen again. But for now, my focus is completely on my opponent next, and I don't feel the need to watch some other opponents. When the rematch happens again, that's when I'll sit down and actually watch a few more tapes of her.
So if all goes well on Saturday against Carabajal, and by the way, you mentioned that you were an underdog going into the April 30th fight. Last I checked, you're a minus 3,000 favorite going into this fight.
Right,
So
no pressure.
yeah, no pressure. It seems like the people are back on your side, or at least the odds makers. Um, is there another date set off for Croke Park? Like, is it possible that the next fight will be Amanda? Is there any chance of this?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where she is or what her thoughts are on it, but yeah, Crow Park can easily be done definitely next year at some point. So I hope I will be making my big homecoming fight next year. It's crazy that I've been a pro for 6 years and I haven't actually fought in Ireland yet. So yeah, I can't wait for that date to obviously happen. So yeah, that fight can obviously happen next year at some point.
It feels like anytime I watch an interview of yours or read, they talk about the end. What left do you have to prove? How many more
Yeah.
years, this and that. And that's crazy because you have been so dominant and you're just 36, but I know you've been competing for a long time. And at some point, the body's going to say no mas. But is there any part of you that maybe not about the end of the career, but being like, yo, I need to get this Ireland fight in? Like, I'm not going to fight forever. Do you feel like there's a clock ticking there on that opportunity coming your way and being as big as it could possibly be, which would probably be right now?
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone has been talking about retirement for the last year or so, and I feel like everyone's waiting for me to retire. So I'm not too sure why everyone's talking about retirement so much. But me myself, I feel obviously very very fresh right now, and I'm not even thinking about retirement. But But with regards to the fight in Croke Park, I think it's crazy. Over the last few years, I actually haven't had a chance to fight there yet. So yeah, I am a bit anxious about getting that fight over the line. In Croke Park, possibly a big, huge homecoming fight. I think it could be the biggest event in female boxing history so far. Imagine a female fight headlining 80,000 people there. That's nothing really can top that. That's a history making event in itself.
Yes, and you deserve that. And I'm not so familiar, but I obviously know people in Ireland, and they tell me about the curfews and all that is clear. There would be no issues. Like the neighborhood, it's all good. They are waiting for you to come.
Yeah, yeah, they're all good. It was all passed,
Wow.
and the yeah. So everything is all set for that fight to happen,
Will
for
you
a fight to happen in Croke
right?
Park.
Will you feel some level of disappointment if the rematch never happens? If you know how boxing politics go, and sometimes these fights
Mm.
just can't align, and that's what made this one in April so great. Will you be disappointed? Will you feel some sort of emptiness if the rematch never happens, especially in Croke Park?
I wouldn't personally feel that much disappointed because I actually want to fight. So
Okay.
she should be the one actually want the rematch more than me really. So if the rematch doesn't happen, I'm walking away as still a undefeated one at the end of the day. But I'm just excited to fight in Croke Park regardless of who it is, and I hope it will be Amanda Serrano because I still believe that would be the biggest fight out there for both of us, and I still believe it's the biggest fight out there in women's boxing. So yeah, I do hope it is her, but we'll see, I guess.
I know you said you didn't watch her last fight. It's been an incredible year for women's boxing, and I think spearheaded by you guys first. I think you put a lot of pressure on everyone else to get their house in order and make these big fights. Did you happen to watch the big one at the O2 with Claressa Shields? And
Yeah.
did you watch that card?
Yeah, I did watch that. Yeah, an amazing night and just an amazing event in itself. And both Clarissa and Savannah again, just a great fight. Both showed a lot of heart and grit, but Clarissa was obviously just too fast, too athletic, just too good in the night. Just a phenomenal performance from her. And the fight before that between Avisha and McKenna Moore as well was also a fantastic fight. Just a great showcase again for women's boxing. And it's amazing that this past year, probably the two fight of the year contenders are actually myself and Serrano, Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall, and yeah, that in itself I think is incredible. That over all that's happened this year between male and female boxing, that the two fight of the year contenders are two female fights.
That's right. And I think you're putting pressure on the men as well. Crawford, Spence, they're not getting it done. Fury, Usyk, they're not getting it done. So you guys are showing them the
Yeah.
way. Is there any chance, like when you watch that fight, and I know you're probably not going to, give us the answer here, but I'll ask it anyway. You hear people say, and you hear her say, Clarissa say, I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the pound for pound queen. Do you kind of laugh and be like, "Pfft, I mean, it's me. We all know it's me. I'm just not going to send out a million tweets about it and
Yeah.
tell the whole world about it. But like when you see that, do you snicker at all? Do you laugh at all? I snicker, by the way. I laugh. I'm just wondering if you do.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't laugh. I think she's obviously absolutely phenomenal, and what she's achieved in the sport is phenomenal as well. So, I don't know. I'm not really too hung up on who people think is who the pound for pound grade is. I'm doing my thing, she's doing her thing, and I think we're both doing great things for the sport. So, all of that, it's great to be in the conversation of the pound for pound list, but all of that is very, very subjective, and I think we just have to stay focused on our own paths, really.
Is Baumgartner a potential future opponent for you, do you think? I know she's another matchroom fighter, so I don't know if that helps or hurts. What do you think?
Yeah, I think any one of those girls in and around my weight division is a potential opponent, and Alicia, I think, is a fantastic fighter, and obviously the fight between her and Michaela, there's very, very little between the two girls. So I think either one of them are actually potential opponents. Um, so yeah, I have my eye closely on that fight. Obviously, watching it last week.
Before you settled on Carabajal as your next opponent, was there any serious talks of you versus Cyborg? She has been trying to get this fight. I know she had her pro boxing debut in late September. Did that ever
Mm.
get close at all from your perspective?
Yeah, I think my team were actually in contact with her team closely over the last few months, and at one stage I did think that that fight was actually going to happen, but she obviously decided to take another fight, um, just to get maybe a bit of experience. But yeah, I don't really know right now what's happened with that fight, but um, I mean, I think it'll be a huge event in itself, and she's obviously a lot bigger than me as well. It'll be an interesting matchup, and if that fight ever does happen, I'd be very happy to take that fight. I know that she's very eager for that fight to happen as well, so we'll see what happens.
That could be Croke Park, right?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, yeah.
What do you think?
I'm looking at my manager here.
Who's that, Brian?
Yeah, Brian's not here, but Tomas is here.
Oh, Tomas, the man. Okay. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get it. Let's get it happening. Tomas, Brian,
Yeah.
Eddie, everyone needs to come together. Can I tell you the one I would love to see, like a personal sort of dream matchup for
Yeah.
me involving you? It's you versus Holly Holm. I would love to see that. I think that would be
Yeah.
incredible. And I kind of felt like there was a chance.
Mm.
She has one fight left on her UFC deal. I feel like there's a better chance of you versus Holly than you versus Cris. What do you think?
Yeah, that's actually a potential opponent as well. We've actually spoken to Holly Holmes' team before as well, and she's obviously she's coming from a boxing background, so she has a lot more boxing experience obviously than Cris Cyborg. That would be a huge fight in itself, and I'd be very very happy to take that. I think she's spoken about that before herself, and I think that fight could be very very easily made. So I will be very excited about that matchup.
Do you think of those three names that I'm talking about, there's any possibility that your next fight is against one of those three people if all goes well on Saturday against Karen? What do you think?
Between Cris Cyborg, Holly Holmes, and
Amanda, do you think there's any chance the next one is against one of those three?
yeah, I think so. I'm happy to step in the ring with anyone, Ariel. So whoever my team say, I'm very very happy. I just want to fight the best. I want to be involved in these big fights, and whoever that may be, I'm very happy to step in the ring against.
I saw this thing that came out last week, Katie. It was unbelievable. I just want to make sure that I get it correct. There was um, a poll that came out, and it was from Sports Pro, and they released their annual list of the most marketable athletes in the world. I'm assuming you saw this list, and you were ranked number 47. You were the first boxer, you're the first fighter to appear. Like it was you before anyone in the world of
Alright.
boxing.
Yeah.
You didn't know about this.
No, I had no idea about that actually.
I mean, the names on
Um,
this, the top 10 is Ronaldo, Serena Williams, Lewis Hamilton, LeBron James. And then there's no fighter until you at 47 of the most marketable athletes on
yeah,
the planet. Does that blow your mind?
it does blow my mind. I'd love to get a few sponsorships with that as well, though.
Yeah, come on. What's happening here? Where's Nike? Where are all these? I know you treat
Yeah.
Gymshark. They treat you very well, right? I see all the great stuff. But is there a part of you that feels like, all right, when am I going to be? I know you're not motivated by this stuff, but I feel like it's time that you cash in after all these years. I mean, you are
Yeah, no,
women's sports
definitely.
is so popular, and you're such a great role model for people. I don't mean to, just like, blow all the smoke your way, but it's time you cash in already.
Yeah, amen to that. I would love to have a huge sponsorship deal, obviously, but it's very very hard apparently for fighters for whatever reason to get these sponsorship deals. But yeah, you're right. But money isn't the most important thing to me, but it is very very important. Obviously, you want to make as much money as you can by the end of your career, and um, but I guess I'm not doing too badly, I suppose.
Just a couple more things, and I'll let you go. And thank you so much for the time. Could I just ask? I know that the women's Irish national team is killing it. They just, I think, 7 medals recently, and there's a lot of
Yes,
great up and
yeah.
comers. And
Mm.
there's this thing. There's I come from Canada, and basketball used to not be popular in Canada at all.
Yeah,
But there was an athlete named Vince Carter who played for Toronto, and now 20
yeah.
years later, you're seeing a lot of kids who grew up watching him now following in his footsteps, and the Canadian basketball team is so great.
Mm.
I think that you are the reason why the Irish women's national team is so great. When you see them have this
Yeah.
success, do you take pride? Obviously, as an Irish woman, you are proud, but do you feel like
Yeah.
you had any sort of part in what is going on now? Because before you came along, none of this was going on.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible, really. I think the women's team right now have become a powerhouse in the world of boxing, and they're winning medals on a consistent basis, but in the European Championships, World Championships, and the Olympic Games. And It's just absolutely phenomenal. We've become one of the most dominant countries. And when I was involved in the amateur team, I felt like I was the only one that was actually coming back with medals. But now we have a whole bunch of girls who are potential medalists in the Olympic Games again, and it's just absolutely incredible. It really is. And these girls are going to actually, one of the girls that won a gold medal is a girl called Amy Broadhurst, who actually was over with me for sparring before the Amanda Serrano fight. She's a fantastic southpaw, and just a great fighter. I think she's going to do great things in professional boxing as well when she actually turns over. The world is her oyster. Basically, she's such a great talent. Yeah, I'm just so excited to see their progress.
Well, I hope you take a lot of pride in that and know that it's in large part due to your success. The final question is, and it's the biggest one of the entire chat, will you be appearing in December on the toy show, the Late Late Show, their toy spectacular? Are you going to make an appearance?
Well, if I get the invite, I suppose I will. But
they haven't
it's the
invited
most
you?
important question tonight.
Come on, I love when you show up
Not
there.
yet,
It's the most heartwarming television of the year. It's like I look forward to it. It's incredible
yeah,
stuff.
it is incredible stuff, and it's probably the biggest show in Ireland every single year. Every single person tunes in, so it's a huge night. But I'll see if I get the invite first, I suppose.
Okay, well, I'll be tuning in. I wish you the best. I'll also be tuning in on Saturday. Like I said, Katie, it's
Thank
always
you
a
so
huge
much.
honor and privilege for us to have you on. Thank you for making some time for us. Good luck to you on Saturday. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you.
Keep representing. Keep winning. And I can't wait to see what next year brings for you. I have a feeling that Croke Park fight is going to happen, and I can't wait to be there when it
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ariel. Great speaking to you again.
All right, take care. There she is, the one and only Katie Taylor, the greatest female boxer on the planet. And yes, I'm a huge fan. I think she's unbelievable. I think she is breaking barriers left and right. I think the reason why we saw Savannah Marshall and Claressa Shields and Alicia Baumgartner and Michaela Mayer just a couple of weeks ago, and yes, I screwed up on that pick, is because we saw Serrano Taylor right over there. You see it right there. Taylor Serrano. And I think it would be a huge mistake, and I hope they're all listening. I hope MVP is listening. I hope Eddie Hearn is listening. I hope they're all listening. It would be a huge mistake if they don't make this rematch. Show the men that you get it done when they can't. Show the men that while they talk a big game, you guys get it done. You deliver for the fans. It would be massive for boxing. This was massive, and look what happened as a result. Make the fight happen. Croke Park. Serrano won her last fight. Enough with this, all right? Eddie, Jake, put your differences aside. Deliver for the people. Make the fight happen. Croke Park, April 2023. Show the world that the women can get it done when the men can't get it done. We're getting Chisora Fury 3. We're getting Terrence Crawford against some other guy. What are you talking about here? Show the world that, much like in the world of UFC and MMA, you can deliver for the fans. That's the fight that we all want. Cyborg would be fun. Holly would be fun. But if we don't get that rematch and we don't get a Katie Taylor fight in Croke Park, what are we doing here? And by the way, how is no one sponsoring this young woman? I mean, I'm seeing some people here. Alex Morgan, she's number 8. And she's huge, and soccer's huge. Naomi Osaka, she should be just as big as them. She is as good of a role model, if not better than all of them. How is she not on that list? Gold medalist, undefeated, returns to action this Saturday. What a day it's going to be, October 29th. Karen Elizabeth Carabajal, who, by the way, is of Argentina, no slouch herself, undefeated 19-0, defending the WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, and the Ring female lightweight title, 136 pounds. Tremendous stuff.
Enjoying that water there.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, isn't she the greatest?
Yes.
I was going to mention, by the way, that you picked against her.
You know, I still think that fight was a draw.
You do?
Yeah.
I hate the 5-5 rounds. Like, I hate the fact that it's 10, so it could be a 5-5. Why don't they make it 11? Right?
Because this fight goes to 10.
What do you mean?
It was a reference to a movie.
Oh. Very excited.